Alright, so it's getting hard to keep track of the days in Japan, so I'm just gonna go with dates instead. And before I start the journal entry, I've been thinking a lot about how much I want to include and what I want to do with it, basically. Obviously, I'm making sure that I don't say any sensitive information. One of the things I think about and consider one of the priorities when I do these audio journals is to make sure that whoever I'm talking about, there's like no way of telling like that's them. And I think I want to keep it that way because I want to make sure, just in case, like, if the people I'm talking about listen to it, they know that for sure, like there's no way that things are going to get back to them, essentially. And that is, of course, if they want to keep things private. If they want me to mention who they are, that's fine too. And for the most part, for these audio journals, they're just sort of like memories of the time I'm in Japan, as well as like me practicing somewhat of storytelling. So I'm going to try my best to be a bit more active with not saying any ums or any repetitive sentences, especially since I primarily just record these and upload them. Okay, with all that said, let's dive into today's journal entry. Friday, January 26, 2024. Today's Japanese language school class was definitely a different day, primarily because of one event. The school sort of is practicing an evacuation, mainly for earthquakes, just in case it happens. And if you have ever heard anything about Japan, you'll know that there are a good amount of earthquakes. And as serious as they are, I do feel like most people today sort of came to school expecting not too much work in class to be done. So it made the whole classroom setting a bit more free and light. It was also a day where we were in a different class for some odd reason, like different classroom. So for this day, we sat pretty much wherever we wanted. We had a quick lesson going over one of the big tests that we had. I ended up getting an 87 out of 100, primarily because I messed up on a lot of particles in Japanese. And if you've ever learned Japanese, you'll know that sometimes particles can get confusing. For me, my head is in the space of being past school, so a score, whatever it is, as long as it's not like drastically bad, I'm okay with it. After reviewing the test, the earthquake alarm started, and it was kind of a disappointment, actually. I was expecting a really, really loud siren type of sound, but it was more like a small ring, like imagine a telephone. But as soon as it started, everyone went under their desks. And if you've ever been in a Japanese classroom before, you'll know that desks in Japan are very, very tiny. So I found it hilarious to watch some of my friends who are very tall and big try to fit under their desk. And after about 5 minutes, all of us went outside, lined up, and started going or walking to a park area. It was a surprisingly long walk, but I think I found it quite nice, and one of my other friends also really enjoyed it because he really didn't want to do much schoolwork. But I took the time to talk to someone new and discovered that she was a mangaka, which means that she creates manga and is an artist. She showed me some videos of a couple art museums that she visited, and we exchanged our social media stuff. So I'm really glad that I got that chance to talk to someone new. I also talked to someone else and I got to share my music with them, and they said that they really liked it because it reminded them of the music they listen to when they study. I suppose piano music sometimes can be seen as studying music, and it is definitely well suited for that. But it's always nice to get to share my music with someone and have them enjoy it in some way. So that was 2 new people that I got to meet and talk to, and I'm glad that I got to, since I feel like right now at the moment, I don't really know everyone in the class, even though there's only about 17 or 18 of us. And I also realized something interesting. In our class, I think there's only 2 people that are from America. So when I talked to my new friend, it was interesting to hear her say how one of her dreams is to live in America. I guess for me, since I've been in California my whole life, I really can't see why someone would want to live in America over a place like Japan, for instance. She actually told me she doesn't really like it in Japan, so I found that very, very surprising. Me being from California, I actually really, really love it in Japan, but everyone has their own preferences. And I found it a very interesting conversation to hear her preferences and reasons. After the whole earthquake evacuation practice ended, we just practiced some Japanese that had some more utility to it. We practiced phrases that we would use in a restaurant or hear in a restaurant. And I seriously need to review that because I was not fully focused in class. And after classes, a good amount of the friends that I have made since the first day at the exams went to karaoke together. We definitely went to one of the fancier places since the interior of the building seemed very, very luxurious and clean. I believe there were 13 of us in a single room, so it got hot pretty fast, but it was enjoyable to have everyone together just singing and having a good time. We ended up staying in that room for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And interestingly, the food there was pretty good, pretty solid. But the most memorable part of the whole event was actually after we did the karaoke. That's because a few of the people there ended up getting drunk. And for me, I was planning on going to Kobe the next day, so I couldn't really visit the share house of one of the drunk people because they really, really wanted everyone to visit the share house. So she kind of kept telling me to visit and dragged me around a little bit. Luckily, I was able to escape her grasp and she focused on someone else. So while she did that, I made my escape to one of the buses. But that's after I said goodbye to a few of the less drunk friends who were going to the share house with her. I spent that night getting spammed by my drunk friend who kept telling me how disappointed she was at the fact that I was not going to the share house and that I didn't say goodbye to her. She ended up video calling me while I was in a crowded bus, having everyone tell me to get off the bus and go back to join them, which of course I didn't. So I got a barrage of photos and videos of them making sad faces, which I definitely found hilarious. So it was a memorable day for sure and a memorable night. Definitely a fun day in Japan. And if I'm to glean some sort of lesson from the day, I would say that keep trying to talk to the people in your classroom. I'm assuming like most people who might be listening to this will probably not have a classroom setting anymore, but I guess keep trying to talk to the people who are around you and that you see often and get to know them some more. Because it was definitely interesting to talk to two of my classmates. And for the whole drunk story, there's not too much of a lesson there. Actually, I was told that there was throwing up going on in the other share house. So the obvious lesson for that one is to know your limits and keep a bag around you because apparently one of the friends ended up throwing up on the lap of another friend. And since I'm talking about this a little bit of like in the future, they told me they got like serious hangovers. So you know, do your best to just drink responsibly. All right, and that is it for this journal entry. I'll catch you guys in the next one.